Hi, my name is Amber Cabral, and I'm the founder and principal consultant of Cabral Co., a diversity, inclusion, and equity strategy firm focused on supporting organizations with their inclusion needs. I'm also the chair of a pretty awesome organization called Brown Girls Do Ballet, which makes today's book, Bunheads by Misty Copeland, a pretty good selection since it is by a ballerina and about some ballerinas. So, this is today's book, Bunheads by Misty Copeland. It's also illustrated by Sator Fiadzigbe. Okay, there's lots of great pictures. All right, here's another great photo, illustration, and another. When Miss Bradley announced they'd be performing the ballet Coppelia for the recital, everyone in Misty's class shouted excitedly and gathered around to hear their teacher tell the story of Coppelia. Misty didn't know what Coppelia meant, and she was too shy to ask, especially since it was her first ballet class ever. So, Misty took a spot on the floor, and before she knew it, she was completely entranced as Miss Bradley told the tale. You see Miss Bradley and the students in the class, and there's Misty. Once upon a time, an old, odd toy maker made a beautiful life-size doll named Coppelia to cure his lonely heart. The doll was so pretty and looked so real that a boy named Franz fell in love with Coppelia at first sight, even though he'd already told Swanilda he would marry her. Swanilda was furious when she caught Franz blowing kisses to Coppelia, but Franz ignored her anger. Later, Franz sneaked into the toy maker's house to see Coppelia, but the toy maker caught him. When the toy maker realized that Franz was in love with his doll, he had an awful idea. Maybe he could use Franz's love to turn Coppelia into a real girl. See Coppelia? And there's Franz. And there's Swanilda. She's furious at Franz. And there's our toy maker, our evil toy maker. Lucky for Franz, Swanilda had also sneaked into the toy maker's house out of curiosity, and she was still hidden inside. She overheard the toy maker's evil plan and decided to dress like Coppelia to confuse the old man. Once the toy maker believed that his doll had finally come to life, Franz escaped. After that, Franz realized what a fool he'd been, and he married Swanilda. The two lived happily ever after. You see Swanilda? And here she is changing to look like Coppelia. And there she is fooling the toy maker. And then that's when she married Franz. Misty loved how Swanilda never lost sight of her goal or her real love. She knew she wanted to be Swanilda. In just a few days, we will decide what roles you will dance in the performance, Miss Bradley said. Now, let's practice. First, there was a développé to tendu front with one leg lifted forward, the pointed foot gently touching the floor. See Miss Bradley telling the class to practice. And here they are practicing. Look at those feet. Those dancers' feet. Next was the rond de jambe to tendu front with the legs stretched straight out to the front, making big circles round and round in the air with the toes. Then it got a bit harder with the pas de bourrée moving from side to side as one foot crossed over the other. Look at that. Look at her foot going around. Rond de jambe. And this is the pas de bourrée, with those feet crisscrossing up and down and front and back. They had such fun with the soutenu as the young dancers twirled and spun in unison. Finally, the lesson ended with some simultaneous pas de bourrée again and again. Misty picked up the steps easily, following only a half-second behind the rest of the class. "Have you ever danced, Copelia?" Miss Bradley asked. Misty shook her head, nervously replying, "I've never taken ballet before." "Well, you're very good," Miss Bradley said. "Come," she called to Misty and Kat, a younger girl who was full of energy. "You two, up front." See them with their pas de bourrée? There's Miss Bradley and Misty. Misty could feel her heart pounding. Miss Bradley asked Kat to show Misty the dance of Copelia. Copelia sits in a chair on the balcony of the toymaker's house throughout the first act of the ballet. Kat held her arms in first position, then lifted her arms and turned her head like a robot, up and down and side to side. She performed the moves beautifully. When it was Misty's turn, she imitated Kat from memory. "You are both very gifted," Miss Bradley said. Look at those young ladies practicing. That right there is Kat. And there's Misty, Miss Bradley. Practicing being a robot. As soon as Misty got home, everything about the new class and the Copelia fairy tale tumbled out of her. "I'm proud of you," Mommy said. Misty was so excited. She could hardly sleep. She lay in bed thinking about the doll coming to life. Misty said her name out loud. Copelia. It felt magical and full of mystery. Look at that big hug with her mommy. She's got her legs sticking straight out there. And that's her laying awake at night thinking about Copelia. The next day, Misty arrived early. Kat was there too, dancing the steps of Swanilda. Oh no! Misty didn't know if she could compete with someone so talented. Soon, Miss Bradley arrived. "Do you girls know which part you want to play in the recital?" Misty held her breath as Kat answered, "Copelia." Whew! That's Misty coming in. And there's Kat practicing. When the other dancers arrived, filling the studio with laughter, Misty and Kat stayed close, learning from each other. Kat's movements were sharp, while Misty's were soft. They tried to copy each other's style until they were giggling. At last, Miss Bradley was ready to audition the dancers to cast the parts that everyone would play in Coppelia. Nearly all hands shot toward the ceiling to audition for Coppelia. Misty was nervous for Kat, but when Kat began to move, Misty knew no one would be able to outdance her. See those two girls practicing with each other? And here she is ready to audition. Look at those hands. Lots of folks trying to audition for the role. When it was time to dance the role of Swanilda, Misty was paired with a grinning younger boy named Wolfie, who was portraying Franz. Wolfie was on a mission to catch Misty's attention. The next day, Miss Bradley announced who would play what parts. Misty was excited when Kat got the part of Coppelia, and even happier when she won the part of Swanilda. There is Misty and Wolfie. And this is when those ladies found out their parts. Kat's going to play Coppelia. Misty is going to play Swanilda. The next few weeks were full of hard work for Misty. She had to perform both Swanilda and Coppelia when she tricked the toy maker into thinking she was the doll who had come to life. It was a lot to learn. Watching Kat dance her parts with ease made Misty try harder. They inspired each other. Look at all that practicing. Practice, practice, practice. And look at Kat and Misty practicing together. They inspired each other. You can see why. The night of the performance, Misty was so excited she couldn't keep still. Staring up at the heavy red curtain, Misty felt a hand on her back. "You okay?" Kat asked. Misty nodded. "I'm ready." And then the curtain was rising up and away. Bright spotlights spilled onto the stage, casting a spell of stillness that would only be broken by movement. That's them backstage. She said, "Are you okay?" That's a good friend. Oh, that looks like Misty's mom. And there's the curtain going up. See the spotlight? In her tutu and braided bodice, Misty pranced onto the stage as Swanilda, with Wolfie playing the part of Franz. At last, lost in the dance, she felt the heat of the lights when she twirled and imagined she could see every face in the room, especially Mommy's. Look at that gorgeous picture of her dancing. Look at that long leap. She looks very pretty. Misty smiled, proud of what she, Kat, Wolfie, and all the other dancers had accomplished together. She couldn't wait to see what they would do next. Look at the group. They're all in their costumes. Look at that. And that's the end. What a beautiful back cover, right? I I love the illustrations in this book. Thanks for joining me today while we read Bunheads by Misty Copeland. Have a good one.